So, in 1860, a whole bunch of black folks in America, they were playing music. It was a combination of folk music, work songs, African music, and spirituals. They decided to name that the blues, and then they played it for about 30 more years, added a bunch of dance to it, and renamed it the boogie woogie. Now, if you took that blues and you added a good dose of folk music and a little bit of musical theater, that's what that green dot is, that's where you get ragtime. But if you let those spirituals sit for the same amount of time, you're going to get gospel. Now, if you let these blues ferment on their own, that's where you're going to get jazz from, right about 1920. But if you decide to add the blues and some of this musical theater-ass ragtime together, that's where you're going to get swing. Now, swing music, if you leave it alone, is going to turn into pop music, not the stuff that's on the radio now, but the original. And just to make it hard for me to draw, if you connect these spirituals and this folk music over here around about 1920, you're going to get country music. That happened at the same time as swing and jazz, but my graph is off, so deal with it. Take the boogie woogie, the jazz, and the gospel from over here, and you mix it all together, you're going to get rhythm and blues. Now, you let that country steep for a little bit, you're going to get bluegrass in 1940, and at the same time, people were combining boogie woogie, jazz, and gospel to get rhythm and blues, also 1940. Now, the 1950s is a busy time for rhythm and blues, because if you combine it with gospel, you're going to get soul, but if you combine it with country, you're going to get rock and roll. Top of all that, that's when electronic instruments started to get popular. Those electronic instruments obviously play into rock and roll, but they play in twice as strongly into metal music in 1960. So 1960, electronic instruments are involved in everything. You get them involved with rock and roll, that's where you're going to get metal music. You get them involved in soul, that's where you're going to get funk music, and even more if you get them involved more in funk, and you get some of the European influence in there, that's where you're going to get disco, still in the 60s and 70s, by the way.